right. Howdy, I'm Jason, and this time in the Auto Edits Garage, we're going to be working on the Dodge again. Now, I'm going to do a slash repair slash regular maintenance type thing this time. I was coming back, hey buddy, I was coming back from Sacramento in the thing, and it threw a transmission pressure code and went into limp mode, and that's when a lot of you guys with the 545 RFE or the Dodge transmissions, you've seen that before. And so what Dodge recommends to do is you replace the solenoid block, or the solenoid pack, I think is what that is. So I went ahead and did that, but I thought I'd take this opportunity to show you guys how easy or how you can do a transmission fluid swap yourselves on your side yard. We're gonna do it right now. I went ahead and drained the transmission, but I'm gonna show you the one trick that will make your life so much easier when you go to do this. So this is the stuff I'm going to be using. I actually went online and ordered this stuff because I couldn't find it at my local store, but I really got into the Lucas oil products last year when I did the Power Stop Brakes Trail to SEMA. I went ahead and converted all of the fluids on the Jeep to Lucas, and I just kind of liked everything about the product line. So I went ahead and actually ordered this stuff online. So let's get under the truck. I'll show you the basics of what we're gonna do underneath there. I'll give you a quick tour of the filters that you're gonna change, both of them. There's two of them down there, at least in this application. And I'll show you that one trick that I was telling you about that will help make your life a little bit easier when you're changing the automatic transmission fluid out of a stock pan, or with a transmission with a stock pan. You'll see in a second what I mean. I think it's time for me to throw the Frisbee for this thing for a second. All right, Pinto, let's go. Meet you under the truck. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Good dog. That's my girl. Right? Come on. Good. Oh. Okay, so we're gonna start with the basics here. This is your transmission pan, and there are bolts that go all the way around this thing. And what you wanna do is you wanna undo all of those bolts. They're not tightened very tight. They're all 8mm socket head, standard hex head. And here's what happens. You have, oh gosh, 7 quarts or so of transmission fluid up in here waiting to just tidal wave its way out whichever way once you get the last bolt out of this thing. So here is my trick for you. What you do is you remove all of the bolts around this thing except for the 4 corners here, okay? So let me buzz these off all the way around. First, okay, so now I have all of the bolts except for these 4 bolts that are holding it in front and rear. Now, what you want to do here is usually, like what I had done last time with this, is there's sealant around this, and you will undo these bolts and it'll fool you into thinking that, oh, it's stuck, and it is. It's stuck on pretty good with the whatever gasket sealant you have on here. The problem is that as soon as you start prying on it, that stuff, it will just let go, and then the whole thing will fall, and it'll be way heavier than you think it is, and you'll have just transmission fluid everywhere. A lot of us have done that. It has happened. It happened to me for sure. I poured it, and it was hot the last time I did this on my old Jeep, and it just gushed, just really scalding hot trans fluid all over my head, everywhere. I even actually busted my head open trying to escape it. So what I'll do now is just loosen these 4 corners, just like a quarter of the way, a half of the way. Okay, and then what you would do, so this is just gonna be my example. So you would loosen this one, so you would have about that much showing. So that's about a 1/4 inch, maybe a 1/2 inch if you're daring, showing on the threads right there. But you'll notice that this is simulating the gasket holding this in place. I still have this screw finger tight over here, but since I have this already off, you'll see that it's loose. But here, this is exactly what you'll do is this is gonna simulate what you're gonna do when you have this gasket cylinder. And this is the thing that will just save you from just making the biggest mess. And so what you'll do is on your last bolt, you'll do the same thing here, and you'll let that loosen that up and give yourself about a 1/2 inch to 3/8 of an inch showing on this bolt. Then you get your pry bar or your screwdriver, get a little wedge going here, and watch. You just pry here, and look at that. You keep the transmission fluid now will drain just out of this gap. It's controllable. The pan's not trying to crush your arm because you're like going, 7 quarts of tranny fluid's heavier than I thought. And you're not gonna Incredible Hulk your way out of that. It's gonna make a mess. So that's it. And so you just have your pan. So you would have a big tray right here catching what will be, it's still gonna be a good flow. And so that'll be coming out of here. And then from there, once you get that under control, you could lower these even more to let even more out, and it'll just flow like that. And once all that's done, you come back through, loosen up these bolts, and you have a much more manageable, it's still gonna be heavy and make a bit of a mess, but then from here, you just let it drop down and then drain it as you can, and you can get your pan out without making a huge mess. And so then you wanna just empty out your pan in a container that you could take over to your local recycle shop. And now is also when you want to check out a few other little things. Inside your pan, you'll find some like thin metal shavings, hopefully not not too much and no big chunks. And there's a magnet in here. Let me show you that. So there's a magnet in here, and you'll want to clean that off because that will have a 5 o'clock shadow, because that is designed to pick up or attract any of the debris. Now you have clutch packs inside that transmission, so it's fairly normal to have some amount of material inside your fluid in the pan, but you just want to look for something abnormal. This, as you can see, is pretty good. All right, meanwhile, back under the truck, this is the bottom of your transmission, and the solenoid pack is underneath this giant block here, and that's the valve body. I'm not going to show you how to change that. That's been done a bunch of times in some pretty good videos on YouTube. This right here is your filter, and so you'll take that out by removing this one Torx. I think it's a T25 Torx, and then that thing just falls right out. There's a little plug right here. Change that, and then you'll change more fluid here, this filter as well, and that is the actual filter that comes from the cooling lines from the front of the vehicle into here. And so that's another, there's just 2 different filters. So this is the one that filters and sucks out of the pan, and this one runs off of these lines directly off of the cooler off the front of the thing. And that's it. That's the bottom of your transmission. So you can see it's pretty straightforward and pretty easy. And one more thing before you put the pan back on, make sure to clean both the surface on the bottom of the transmission and the flange on your oil pan really well. I'm going to try and use a cork gasket this time. Normally I would use an RTV style sealant, but want to give this cork thing a go, and I'll let you know if I notice any leaking. Then just carefully install the pan and all the bolts. Don't over tighten these things. The specs only call for about 9 foot-pounds of torque, and that's not much. This is an expensive repair to have done at a shop, so if you can brave the mess that you're going to make, you could save quite a few bucks on this one. All right, now it's time to just fill it. I think this thing takes I think we're going to about replace 7 out of this thing. So we'll start with 5. And then we'll see where it goes from there. Okay, that's 5 to get us started. We'll put our dipstick back in. Okay, so now should be able to just start this thing up. Probably set the parking brake just to be safe. Been rolling it around in the side yard, so. Okay, now that it's running, what you want to do is put it in neutral, and that will actually engage the transmission fluid pump and actually start moving fluid around in the transmission. So we'll just let it sit here in neutral. We'll run back out there in a moment and check the fluid and see how much more we're going to add to get it topped off and happy. I don't see any warning lights, but we won't know until we drive it if we got the solenoid thing fixed. But for now, that's the basics on the fluid change. I let the truck warm up, checked the dipstick again, and ended up pouring in a total of 7 quarts, which showed on the max full mark. But that's it, simple as that. Transmission fluid change and filters. See you next time on the Auto Edit Garage. Took the rig out for a quick test drive and everything felt great. Ready for more road trips. Thanks for watching. Lots more content coming up, so please hit that subscribe button. And until next time, enjoy your drive.